Sorry for the late start. Had some technical issues we had to work through, but we're ready to go now. About 4 minutes after the open, so we'll get to see a little bit of where price is starting out this week. As always, please put any questions that you have in the chat box. Please take a moment to look over the risk disclaimer, which is now on your screen. If you're watching the recording, please take a moment to pause the recording and read the risk disclaimer in depth, and then we'll get started. All right, so we're going to, this is dollar yen, but we're going to go back to dollar yen. I do want to start with E-mini futures because they are very interesting at the end of last week. Really the last hour that after hours trading, we really did a number on E-mini futures. I pointed out this wedge for a while now. It had been building. We had 1, 2, 3, really 4 very clean tests of the bottom of this wedge, and 2 only tests of the top part. We couldn't really ever manage to make it up to the third. But what we did get is when this 1640 figure gave way, we picked up a whole lot of stops on the way down. We really dropped 13 points on E-minis in a very, very short period of time. So we now do have a wedge breakdown to work with, so bears do start off this week at a bit of an advantage here. This is the hourly chart. Obviously, the daily chart is still extraordinarily bullish, but you got to start somewhere. Basically, what this chart tells me is that 1640 will be the first level that bears will have to defend to continue the downward momentum. If we do manage to retest 1640, I would expect a lot of offers to come into the market and push price lower. If we do manage to break back above 1640, all bets are back off. But that 1640 figure is really going to be important, I think, going forward this week. If we take a look at the daily chart here of the S&P, you can see that this daily candle here turned into a pretty ugly bearish one. Really the first convincing bearish close we've had since this one back here. Well, I guess you can count this one as a convincing bearish close. So since what, the 1st of May or so. So really we had a solid up month. Now we finally have a little bit of bearish momentum to work with. First major support is basically the 1600 figure. You can see a previous high here, the 50-day EMA, and then that round number psychological support to look for. If we do start to fall at the beginning of the week, 1600 will be the first major test for E-mini bulls to try and defend. Dollar yen, going to drop down to the 4-hour chart here on dollar yen. All right, so we have a nice sort of descending wedge type pattern going on here. We're well supported here by this 200 period EMA here on the 4-hour chart. You can see it was significant back here in November, up here in February, here again in April, and now at the end of May, beginning of June, we do have it playing a role, again, sort of supporting price. The hourly chart gives us a much better idea of exactly what we're looking at here. All right, so we've held this consolidation very, very well on both sides, really. We've had now 4 tests of the downside of this wedge and 3 on the top. So very much a breakout trade to keep your eye on here at the beginning of this week. Really, the key level would be above 101.15 or below 120, 100.20. Those are the major levels that you'd want to keep an eye on for breakout opportunities on dollar yen. I don't have a particular bias on this pair. I would trade it to either direction. The technical setup to me is a little bit cleaner for an upside break if we do manage to get above 101.15. But I think there is potential on either side of this market. So dollar yen, definitely a pair that should be on your radar here at the beginning of the week. Aussie dollar, you can see we gapped higher on Aussie dollar. Again, we had stronger than expected Chinese PMI numbers. On Friday, that helped boost the Aussie here at the open. We've already dropped about 20 pips here. The gap fill will come in about another 20 pips lower, 30 pips lower. So keep your eye on what is basically 95.70 or so for a gap fill, and then we'll see from what the Aussie wants to do for the rest of the week. It is a extraordinarily busy week for the Australian dollar. We have GDP, we have trade balance, we have the RBA, all out this week. So very, very busy Australian dollar trading. You want to be sort of aware of and keep your eye on this pair because it's definitely going to be busy this week. We may not get that many great trading opportunities, but if you're looking for volatility, the Aussie is definitely a pair to keep your eye on. Basically keeping my eye on this sort of consolidation as well. Again, still like buying Aussie dollar for a breakout. I do think that this down move is not done in the long term. I do think we will continue lower. But as far as the medium and short term goes, I think it is significantly overdone and that we are due for some sort of pop higher. And considering the significant event risk that we have out this week, that we may get several fundamental catalysts to help push the pair at least back up towards like that 98, 99 sort of area. And there we can start to look for perhaps opportunities to rejoin this trend for eventual move down towards like 90 or so. Kiwi dollar, again, broke lower at the end of the day on Friday. Kiwi dollar, I'm less happy about trading. I don't, same general idea where I would prefer to buy some sort of reversal pattern higher to eventually sell lower, but it doesn't, there's not a lot of clear patterns going on here on Kiwi dollar, just a lot of selling. In terms of opportunity, if we do rally, like where I would look, if we do get like a 300 or so pip rally over the next couple weeks, this 82.66 figure would be an ideal place to get short. We do have some bearish moving average developments here. All three moving averages now pointing lower. We're trading below all three of them. And we have the 50 crossing below the 100-day, and we have the 50-day about to cross below the 200-day. Both fairly significant bearish moving average developments. Keep your eye on Kiwi. Again, I feel like it's similar to Aussie in that both of them have kind of been overdone. I mean, really, we're down 700 pips from the May 1st or so highs. And so really 800 pips in a month. Pretty solid move lower. Could possibly be in for some sort of recovery higher before then lower. Euro dollar. ECB this week, so keep your eye on that. So the euro respecting this descending trend line, respecting this ascending trend line, so keep your eye on all of those as well. Get rid of this. All right, so you can see, let's drop it down to the 4-hour chart. You can see here that we wick down into this 50% fib. Let me pull it over so you can see what we're looking at here. All right, so this is the 4-hour chart. We did hold this trend line well. We came down, we dipped. We touched this 50% fib as well as the 50 and 100 period EMAs here on the 4-hour chart, and we headed higher. I do like this pair higher. I do think that we're going to see this complete and break out of this triangle and head up towards the 132.60 figure sometime this week or the next. Again, it's a very busy week for the euro. ECB rate decision, Spanish bond auction, several PMI releases, a bunch of German data. So, I mean, that could really interfere with this move higher if we do see lots and lots of negative data and if the ECB sounds particularly dovish during its statement and press conference. But for the most part, I do still like the euro higher, and we'll be looking for opportunities to get long for move up towards 132.60. Pound dollar, it's actually another pair I very much like higher. We have this double bottom, we broke the neckline, we retested the neckline, and now we've respected it, and we're looking to push higher. We do have this 200 period EMA here in tan, currently sitting at 152.53, so about 50 pips above market. That has been resistance so far. You can see we fell short of it before this retest, so I do think that a move above that figure should open up some higher prices, maybe up towards 156 or so. I do still like, again, in the longer term, I like the pound lower, but I think that there is some opportunities. There are some opportunities for longs here this week. Again, some data out for the pound. We have some, I think, services PMI numbers, and we also have the Bank of England decision. So that is probably going to be a dud as it has been lately. But you certainly want to keep your eye on it. Major resistance here, 154 basically, so about 200 pips higher. I think we could see that move. I think we could see those 200 pips before another sort of sell-off to take us below 148 and way lower eventually for the pound. Dollar CAD, we have Canadian employment as the same time as NFPs on Friday, so don't forget this week is an NFP week. Again, I think we could see a CAD pullback towards 102.50, but I really look to buy it there rather than trying to find a short on dollar CAD. If we do continue to go sideways here, basically between 104.15 and 103. So if we do keep this 100 pip range, I will start drawing flag lines and then look for some sort of flag breakout on this pair sometime this week or the next, probably next. I'm not too eager to get into the Canadian dollar right now. It looks like it's going to chop sideways in a very ugly fashion for a while, and I really just don't want to be a part of that. So this is Aussie CAD. So if we see an Australian dollar recovery and the dollar CAD goes sideways, that should help push Aussie CAD higher. We can see here this candle on Friday opens up some interesting possibilities, possible bottoming candle. We gapped higher. We've almost actually filled the gap here on Aussie CAD, so that's something to keep in mind as well. I think we have like about 2 pips in between now for the gap. It's just dropped a little bit more. No, a little bit more than that. Let's see, 99.51. Still about 30 pips left on that gap, but keep your eye on that as well. Aussie CAD has been very stubborn lately, not really being able to rally significantly as the Aussie has remained pretty weak. But do keep an eye now on this trend line. Basically, above parity opens up a decent breakout move higher. That would also put us above this 200-hour EMA, which you can see has been fairly significant these past 2 to 3 weeks. Let's take a look at gold for you metal traders out there. Since making these 1321 lows, gold has been relatively challenging to trade with an up and then a down. We failed to make a new low, so this could be the start of a more significant correction higher. This candle here, though, from the end of the week last week, not a very pretty candle for bulls. It does indeed look like a bearish engulfing pattern here on the daily. So I'd be hesitant about gold longs, but do keep your eye on that possibility. Does look like we may have some sort of breakout possibility on gold. Here, let's drop it down to the hourly. So you can see we are sort of trading underneath this potential breakout point. And under these 3 key moving averages. So keep your eyes on some short possibilities for gold, but I would be somewhat cautious about them this week. Oil, sold off very hard at the end of Friday's session. A very, very ugly daily candle. Does look like it's primed for lower prices in the near term. You may want to keep your eye on that. I wouldn't necessarily short it here, but I would be keeping an eye on some shorter term charts for oil opportunities tomorrow and Tuesday. Am I missing any of the majors? CAD, Kiwi, Aussie, Euro, Pound. Let's take a look at Aussie Yen. So Aussie Yen, again, another ugly sort of candle here. Aussie Yen, with this gap higher, if you want to fade an Aussie gap higher, Aussie Yen would be the pair to do it against. It is retesting this previous support level, this previous breakout level. And if we do respect that, I think a move down to 93 is really pretty likely. But since I'm fairly bullish the Aussie against the dollar, that would mean I would need a strong dollar-yen sell-off to send Aussie yen lower, and I don't see that sell-off really coming, so I'm a little bit hesitant to short any of the yen pairs right now. If we do see dollar-yen move lower here below this 100.20 figure, that would encourage me and start me looking for possible shorts on yen pairs, but until we see that, I'm going to be a little bit wary about shorting any yen pairs. Any requests? Any pairs that you guys want me to take a look at? Dollar Swifts and Aussie Kiwi, I can do both of those. I often forget to analyze dollar Swiss because I hate it. Alright, so dollar Swiss right now. Actually, one of the few dollar pairs that looks decidedly bullish to me. We had a nice sell-off the last, on Tuesday and Wednesday of last week. But then we held that 50-day EMA that's in red. We also held that 50% fib pretty neatly. So if you're looking for opportunities to buy the dollar, which is not my preferred strategy at the start of this week, dollar Swiss would probably be that pair for you, and dollar yen. 195 or so is the major support level. Below 95 and 94.40 comes into play. There's actually some pretty significant support in 94.40 on dollar Swiss as well. Aussie Kiwi. All right, so Aussie Kiwi. Very nice reversal hammer here. Worked out very well if you bought it. I mean, even if you bought it at the close, we're almost 300 points higher than the close of that candle in 2 days. So very nice move higher. I would be looking for shorter term opportunities to short Aussie Kiwi at about 121.40, but even as high as 122.50, I could see that pair reaching before we start to see evidence of a bearish trend resumption. Until that point, I'm kind of hesitant to trade Aussie Kiwi unless I see some sort of hourly 4-hour bull flag type thing form. Which we could actually see, depending on how the next 6 or 8 hours go. This setup played out perfectly. It's why I don't want to buy it up here. So if you look from these 118.16 lows, I talked about this in Friday's video. We dipped down, we front ran that 50% fib by about 5 pips, and from there, we completed the measured move basically perfectly at 120.68 on that gap up. So pair definitely in for some sort of retracement. Possible support comes in around 119.80 or so. So about 60 pips lower. If we see a dip down to there, that could be a potential buying opportunity on Aussie Kiwi. Any other requests? If we do see some bullish Australian dollar action this week, and that results in a Euro Aussie pullback, I'll be very happy. I would like to buy Euro Aussie at 133, so about 213 pips lower. If we kick it out one more to the weekly chart, you can see exactly what I'm looking at there. All right, so basically 133 is the level I'm watching for on Euro Aussie. Should we get there for then a move, continued move much higher. Pound Aussie. We'll stay on the weekly chart for a minute. Pound Aussie figure that I'd like to get long at and be back really at like 153.75. So pretty sizable move lower, but it would be worth keeping that figure on your radar for probably the end of next month. Eh, not even. Give it a couple. I mean, give it 2 weeks and we could be back down in that area, just above 153 towards 154. Uh, very possible with the way that this pair moves that we could see that pull back again before higher. All of that, of course, is dependent on Aussie dollar and the other Aussie pairs really getting their act together this week and the next and start to recover some of the ground that they've lost um, over the past 2 to 3 weeks or so. Any other requests? Yeah, that'd be nice. Uh, Euro yen, sure. Well, yeah, okay. Actually, Euro yen's pretty nice here. Kind of similar to dollar yen. Very nice, clear consolidation pattern, just waiting for a break. If you're slightly more aggressive, you could buy it here towards the bottom of the wedge with like basically a 130.20 stop, so a 40 pip stop, and hope for a breakout higher. I will prefer to wait for the break here on Euro Yen. Euro Yen very likely to be fairly active this week, as yen pairs have been volatile just on their own lately, and with the significant event risk that we have out of the Eurozone. The pair very likely to be very busy. Could be some challenging but rewarding trading if you get it right. Other requests? All right, if there are no more requests, I'm going to wrap this up. Um, Again, the next piece, we do have some Australian news out tonight. I want to say it's like retail sales or something like that. That's actually 4 hours from now, I believe. So keep your eye out for that. Busy week this week, so be ready for some active trading. If you have questions, I will be in the chat room, and feel free to ask them there. Hope you guys have a terrific trading week. For those of you that have some Sunday left, enjoy it. For those of you for who it's already Monday, enjoy your week, and I will talk to you soon.